Imagine waking up on November 1st and your SNAP benefits just aren't there. No notification, no warning, just gone. Well, stop imagining, because according to multiple reports, this is about to become reality for 42 million Americans in just 2 weeks. The U.S. government is telling states to hold off on sending SNAP payments starting November 1st. Let that sink in. 42 million people. That's not a typo. We're talking about millions of families, disabled Americans on SSI and SSDI, veterans relying on VA benefits, elderly people, single moms. All of them could see their food assistance suspended or completely cut off. I spent hours reading through government reports, state announcements, and federal documents so you don't have to. And what I found is deeply concerning. This isn't about a policy change or the usual benefit adjustments. This is about a government shutdown that's dragging on, and SNAP recipients are about to pay the price. Here's the situation. We're on day 16 of a federal government shutdown. The Senate has voted 10 times, to try to pass a funding bill to reopen the government. And all 10 times, it's failed. Just today, the vote was 51 to 45. They need 60 votes to pass. They didn't get it. They also tried to pass a long-term bill to fund the Pentagon so our military personnel get paid on November 1st. That failed too. And here's the problem. SNAP is what they call a mandatory program, which means it's supposed to be fully funded. But here's the catch. Money still has to be appropriated by Congress for the government to actually use it for SNAP benefits. And right now, that hasn't happened. October payments are fine. Those went through because they were already funded. But come November 1st, we're looking at either partial payments, reduced benefits, or, and this is the biggest concern, complete suspension of all SNAP payments for everyone. This isn't theoretical anymore. States are already taking action, and it's scary. Minnesota just announced they're stopping processing SNAP benefit applications as of yesterday, Wednesday, because of the shutdown. The Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Family said they're being forced to stop processing food stamp applications entirely. But it gets worse. Look at Texas. The federal government has specifically ordered Texas to delay November SNAP benefits amid the shutdown. We're talking about millions of Texans who rely on SNAP facing delays next month because the USDA, the Department of Agriculture that runs SNAP, has what they're calling an insufficient funds problem. They don't have enough money to fund all 42 million Americans on SNAP. They literally cannot fund every single person's account for November. So now they're scrambling to figure out what to do. Let me be very clear about who we're talking about here. If you're on SSI, Supplemental Security Income, you're in this. About 7.4 million Americans receive SSI, and many of you also get SNAP because your monthly income is so low. You're living on maybe $900 a month, and SNAP is what allows you to eat. If you're on SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, same thing. You're disabled, you can't work, and SNAP benefits might be the difference between eating 3 meals a day or 1. Veterans on VA disability benefits, you served this country and now you're being told your food assistance might disappear. That's unconscionable. Single moms trying to feed your kids, elderly people living alone on fixed incomes, disabled Americans already struggling to survive, you're all in the crosshairs of this shutdown. These aren't people who can just figure it out. These are people who are already doing everything they can to survive. And now the government is about to pull the rug out from under them. So what's actually going to happen on November 1st? Based on statements from White House officials and the Trump administration, there are 3 possible scenarios, and none of them are good. Scenario 1. Partial distribution. The USDA takes whatever money they have, let's say it's 20% of what they need, and they send 100% of benefits to 20% of recipients. So some people get their full amount, and 80% of people get nothing. The administration has said they'd feel uneasy about this option because it's not fair, but it's on the table. Scenario 2. Reduced benefits for everyone. They take the limited funds they have and divide it among all 42 million people. So instead of getting your usual $200 in SNAP, maybe you get $40. Everyone gets something, but it's nowhere near enough to actually feed your family for a month. Scenario 3. Complete suspension. This is the nightmare scenario. They suspend SNAP entirely for everyone. All 42 million households get $0 in November. You'd have to wait until December, January, or even February to get your benefits, whenever the government decides to reopen. Which way are they going to go? Honestly, nobody knows yet. But what I can tell you is that discussions are happening right now, and we're running out of time. Here's something else I read this morning that's deeply concerning. According to reports, if the government is still shut down on November 1st and it drags on, let's say until November 15th or 16th, which would be over 40 days of shutdown, the federal government wouldn't send SNAP benefits midway through November. Instead, they'd wait until December and send you a double payment. Let me ask you something. If you're on SNAP right now, do you have enough in your account to cover all of November without receiving any more money? Can you make what's left from your October benefits stretch for 6, 7, 8 weeks? For most people, the answer is no. That's why I told you 2 weeks ago when this shutdown started. You need to use your money wisely. You need to ration. Because this is exactly what's happening. Now, there's another layer to this that's making people nervous. The Trump administration has asked every single state to turn over sensitive data about SNAP recipients, names, dates of birth, home addresses, Social Security numbers, benefit amounts, going back to 2020. At least 27 states have already complied and turned over this information to the USDA. Most states with Republican governors have already sent it in. Most Democratic-led states have refused, saying this is an invasion of privacy. The administration says this is to combat waste, fraud, and abuse in the SNAP program, to make sure people receiving benefits aren't scamming the system. But here's what frustrates me. Study after study shows that SNAP has one of the lowest fraud rates of any government program. We're talking less than 1%. So we're shutting down benefits for 42 million people and demanding sensitive personal information to solve a fraud problem that barely exists? That doesn't add up. Here's the political reality. There are two competing priorities that need to be resolved by November 1st. Republican priority: the Pentagon needs money to pay military personnel. The next military paycheck is due November 1st. Democratic priority: SNAP recipients need their benefits. Those are also due November 1st. Both sides are using these deadlines as leverage. And in the middle, you, real people who need food, veterans who served, disabled Americans who can't work, kids who depend on their parents, SNAP benefits to eat. According to reports, millions of households will go hungry in November if this isn't resolved. We're not talking about inconvenience. We're talking about people starving. Okay, here's your action plan. These are the steps you need to take in the next 2 weeks. Action 1. Ration your current benefits. If you got your October SNAP payment, you need to make it last. Buy bulk staples, rice, beans, pasta, canned vegetables. Focus on foods that stretch. This is not the time to splurge. Every dollar needs to go as far as possible. Action 2. Apply for emergency food assistance now. Don't wait until your benefits are suspended. Go to your local food bank this week. Register with them. Find out their hours and what ID you need to bring. Some food banks have limits on how often you can visit, so establish yourself now. Action 3. Check if your state is still processing applications. If you've been meaning to apply for SNAP or recertify, check with your state immediately. Remember, Minnesota has already stopped processing applications. Other states might follow. If you have a pending application or recertification, call your caseworker and find out the status. Action 4. Contact your representatives. I know. You've heard this before, but this is serious. Call your senators and representatives and tell them you need SNAP benefits to survive. Tell them you're disabled, you're a veteran, you're a senior, you're a single parent. Make it real for them. Action 5. Watch for updates from your state. Sign up for text alerts from your state SNAP office if they offer them. Check your state's Human Services website daily. States are going to have different approaches to this, and you need to know what your state is planning. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The situation is bad, but there are some reasons to believe this could get resolved before November 1st. First, the pressure is mounting. Military families need their paychecks. SNAP recipients need food. The longer this drags on, the more pressure Congress faces to actually do their jobs and pass a funding bill. Second, both parties know that 42 million Americans going hungry is a political nightmare. Nobody wants that on their record going into future elections. Third, there's still 2 weeks. That's 14 days for Congress to figure this out. The Senate has tried 10 times and failed, but it only needs to succeed once. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see movement before November 1st. But I'm also realistic. We can hope for the best, but we have to prepare for the worst. Here's what makes me angry about all of this. SNAP is a lifeline. It's not a luxury. It's not free money that people are abusing. It's food assistance for people who literally cannot afford to eat without it. We're talking about disabled Americans who can't work, veterans who served our country and came home broken, elderly people on $900 a month who have to choose between rent and food, single parents working minimum wage jobs who still can't make ends meet. These are not people sitting at home watching TV and collecting checks. These are people who are trying. They're surviving. They're doing everything they can. And the government is about to tell them, sorry, we can't figure out our budget, so you don't get to eat this month. That's not acceptable. That's not American. And it shouldn't be happening in the wealthiest country in the world. If you've watched this far, you're informed. You know what's coming. And knowledge is power. Yes, this is scary. Yes, there's a real chance your benefits could be suspended on November 1st. But you're not helpless. You can prepare. You can ration your current benefits. You can line up backup food sources. You can call your representatives. You can make your voice heard. I'm going to keep covering this story every single day until it's resolved. I'll keep reading the reports, tracking the votes, and breaking down what's happening in plain language so you know exactly what's going on. If your benefits get suspended, don't give up. Visit food banks, call 211 for emergency assistance, reach out to churches and community organizations. There are people who want to help you. You just have to know where to look. If this video helped you, please hit that subscribe button. I post updates on SNAP, Social Security, VA benefits, SSI, SSDI, and other programs every single day. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, especially as we get closer to November 1st. Check out my other videos on what to do during a government shutdown, how to maximize your SNAP benefits, and emergency food resources. I've got the information you need to survive this. Leave a comment and let me know. Are you worried about November 1st? Do you have a backup plan? What's your state doing? Let's share information and support each other. And remember, you did nothing wrong. You're not lazy. You're not a burden. You're surviving in a system that's failing you. And that's not your fault. Stay strong, stay informed, make a plan. And I'll see you in the next video, hopefully with good news that this shutdown is over.